Okay. Okay. So the title's called "They Ain't Called Hotcakes for Nothing." Okay. And it says, I went to lunch the other day with my coworker Bob. Bob said he wanted pancakes, so we settled at an iHop a few blocks away from our office complex. The waitress led us to a booth near the back of the establishment, and there we placed our orders. A few minutes later, I saw our boss, Jim, enter the building, and he requested a booth near the back of the place. I told Bob to duck. It usually isn't good to make eye contact with your employer. Jim takes a seat and orders a 3 stack of buttermilk pancakes. I am fluent in lip reading. A few more minutes passed, and Bob and I got the food we had ordered. Bob dived into the blueberry pancakes while I watched the waitress bring the short stack to Jim. Jim took the napkin that protects the silverware and unrolled it. Then he put the napkin in his lap, or at least that it looked like. Jim grabbed the old-fashioned syrup, and he begins pouring it in his lap. Jim then stood up, completely naked from the waist down, syrup dripping from his massive erection, and he looked straight at the butter melting off the fluffy buttermilk cake. Prepare yourself, Jim said to the pancakes as he glared deeply into their buttery glare. I looked into Jim's eyes, which at this point were totally devoid of life. No soul whatsoever was still inside of Jim. What was once Jim's body was now an extremely horny zombie with one thing on his mind: fluffy white virgin pancakes.
And what are you reading this off of?
It's what's this off of, Trader? Is it iFunny? iFunny. Bob turned around to watch the spectacle. Jim was thrusting his pelvis into the cakes, butter and syrup bleeding from the top of the opening that had formed. Each thrust increased the blood flow, causing his dick to swell, and causing the pancakes to suffer more and more. The vague grunting noises in the Christian family of four, seated less than 10 feet away, only made the situation worse. Bob looked back at me and said, with a deep tremble of fear and desperation in his voice, "Holy shit, is that Jim?" I nodded, unable to look away. A few seconds later, a waitress walked by, and upon sight of Jim's horrible act, she screamed. She threw the coffee pot she was carrying at Jim. Lucky for Jim, he was in the middle of thrusting downward, so the coffee pot missed him, and hit the glass window with full force, hence destroying the only barrier that protected the unscarred public from Jim's public rape vest. Poor men, I assumed they were busboys, because they were the only ones who didn't have to wash their hands. A small group of ran over to the table. A small crowd of local city dwellers had gathered around the now glass-lacking window. Several people, including our coworker Connor, had their camcorder out recording the spectacle. The four men positioned themselves around Jim as he continued to vigorously thrust his dick into the now pulverized pancakes. They attempted to restrain him by grabbing his arms and legs. This ended poorly. For the busboy, that is, Jim bit one of them and then immediately went batshit. He fled from the scene, naked, and was never seen again. Now the only evidence we have is a semen-filled pile of pulverized pancakes.
That was like the best story ever.